Welcome back to the Wizard Shop. If you're coming over here and boys is coming from Whistling Diesel, this is one of them fancy schmancy Porsche Macans. Let's go ahead and take a look at this really nice fancy schmancy uppity car. Let's get started. So no, it's not a Porsche Macan. I know that. This is a 2018 Porsche Macan GTS. It's here for just a few small items and then it's going to be out of here again. There's really nothing majorly wrong with it. And one interesting fact is that when Mrs. Wizard bought her Maserati Levante, we actually looked at a couple of these. We're going to take a look at what we fixed on this car or what we're going to fix. Actually look at the car and talk about why we chose not to buy one of these. Let's go ahead and take a look around the car. The front end of these Macans are really, really nice. I love the design. It looks very sporty. It looks really good. It's basically a smaller version of a Cayenne. It's an SUV. It's actually based off of Audi's Q5 platform. So the underpinnings are basically an Audi Q5. It has nice black wheels and a white body and a red interior, very similar to Mrs. Wizard's Levante. You can see it's a lot smaller, way smaller. There's no damage to it. There's a few little small scrapes here or there, but there's nothing major to speak of. I do like the rear end on the Macans. It looks very stylish, very classy. Quad exhaust, LED taillights. Again, on this side, really nothing to speak of as far as damage. Their style really nice. They look really nice. These are 20-inch wheels, and through the wheel you can see the nice Porsche red calipers. Gives a nice sporty look to it. One of the complaints the customer had is an engine noise. When it's running, if hears like just a slight noise, it's very, very subtle. Let's go ahead and open the hood and look at the engine. Let's also take a listen as well. There we have the Audi coolant reservoir, Volkswagen. Looks like a Beetle reservoir. This is the Porsche 3-liter V6, the GTS version. Has 360 horsepower and 369 pound-feet of torque. So they really are squeezing the power out of this 3-liter V6, albeit it's at high RPMs for the horsepower. You could get this in a base model with a 4-cylinder, a 2-liter 4-cylinder, which would be the Audi 2-liter 4-cylinder. And it had like 250 horsepower, 250 pounds of torque, over 100 less than what this one has, in both horsepower and torque. So I'll go ahead and start it up. We'll take a listen to the engine running, and we'll talk about that. So you can hear some clatter going on. This is a direct injection engine. Those are the injectors making that noise. There's also very slight valve train noise, like the timing chain. Not that something's wrong, it just makes a noise. I'll go ahead and take this cover off and we'll take a look underneath. These are our high pressure pumps right here on the driver's side. And also on the passenger side, this is where our noise is coming from. You can actually feel it. The injectors themselves are also quite noisy, just like a diesel. It's very similar to diesel, being it's direct injection. And I'll go turn it off. The question the customer has is, with this little subtle noise that it has, is anything catastrophic that's going to destroy my motor? The answer is no. It's not catastrophic. It's not going to destroy anything. And based on that, the customer is very likely not going to want to tear into this thing and replace a bunch of components. I'm just going to recommend that we keep an eye on it or an ear to it to see if it gets worse. But what I'm hearing is normal. There's nothing here that really needs to be replaced. That part is done, that part is behind us, so we no longer have to worry about that. Go ahead and put this back on. And we'll take a look inside the interior next. The other reason why this vehicle came in is that even with the key on, engine off, it was registering 4,000 RPMs all the time. If you start the engine, it would zip up to 5,000 RPMs, even though the engine was not doing 5,000 RPMs. I was able to use my Autel scan tool and recalibrate the gauges, and it went back to zero. It's happy again. It may be that in the future a cluster may need to be replaced, but right now we got it recalibrated and it's working perfectly again. What do you think about the interior, Mrs. Wizard?
It is shockingly a lot like my Levante. It has the black two-tone going on with the red stitching. I mean, it is phenomenal. It's very, very similar.
The seats are almost identical in color.
Yeah. Some of the differences, oh, nope, there it is. It's got GTS on it.
Yeah.
Mine has the Maserati Tridents. It is smaller, it is narrower. The bolsters on the seats are definitely not as wide and hugging you when you are in the seat. A lot going on in the center area here. A lot more buttons than what is in the Maserati. Don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but oh, that would be quite the distraction trying to drive. It does appear to have a smaller steering wheel also. Definitely have the lovely Porsche insignia on the center. And again, definitely, integrating the red into the door panel as well. Some of the differences is the handle isn't as integrated in. It almost blends in with the sides of the Maserati. Again, they're definitely trying hard to look Maserati with the clock in the center.
Very similar theme. Maybe one is trying to compete with the other. It's very obvious here. With your seats currently set the way they are, you're comfortable. That's where your seat would be when you're driving it. But I'm going to open the back door and we can see why we absolutely did not buy this model. I can't go any further. My knees are in the back of the seat. I would be pushing against the seat with an unreasonable amount of pressure. I don't want to do that to the customer's car, but this is made for small children or smaller people back here. You cannot carry adults very easily. Both of my daughters are basically the size of adults. One of them is an adult and one is almost there. Neither one of them will fit comfortably back here, and we would sure hear about it very quickly. It was a no-go. We were kind of interested in the interior when we looked at the one we looked at, the Macan, until we went to the back seat. And it was just like, nope, that just can't happen. There's just no way we can make this work. It's not going to work. Oh, so we have nice leather here, but the sides are vinyl. Kind of cheap. But, I mean, the interior is nice. Has the panoramic roof and everything, but it's just too small. Really small. One thing it does have is a windshield with a star or a crack in it. It's a pretty good crack. We don't do those here. I mean, we got a guy we could use. We could call him in to do it, but this customer is already going to have that taken care of on their own, do it themselves, so we're not too concerned about the windshield. I'll go ahead and pull this thing over to the lift. There really wasn't any other serious issues the customer was concerned about. Just those couple of items, get them taken care of. But I want to show you guys, this is definitely an Audi Volkswagen product, whether it be Bentley, Porsche, Volkswagen, Audi, any of these that have, especially with the suspension system that can raise or lower, you can't just put it on the lift and go for it. There's a couple of buttons you have to press and put into jack mode. So I'll go ahead and get this Macan moved over to the lift and we'll show you guys that. So I've got the level control turned off by pushing the two buttons in the interior. The reason why you have to do that on these is because when you go to lower it back down, it actually collapse all the way down flat and be hard to get off the lift. can also throw codes in the level control system or suspension system, and it can cause a lot of grief and a lot of headache that's not necessary if you just properly put it into jack mode or level control off. Another concern the customer has is they just acquired this vehicle and it has a brake warning, the brake lights are on and everything. We've already checked it out and we know why, and I'll show you guys as we get to it. So lots of panels and things here for aerodynamics. There's nothing leaking. We just do a quick look because the customer wasn't too concerned about that anyways. We'll check this here, suspension. Here's a ride height sensor. Always make sure they're in good shape or not broken. Boots and CV shaft's good. Sway bar link's good. One thing I noticed is the wear sensors for the pads are missing. The pads are brand new, but the wear sensors are gone. And as we look over to this side, you can see where the wear sensor is supposed to plug in. It's just been taped off.
Who would do that? This car only has 58,000 miles on it.
I have no idea, and as we go along to each wheel, you're going to see every single wheel is that way. Move over to here, check the suspension again. Ride height sensor, CV shaft, and here's our taped off brake wear pad sensor connector. Again. We'll move back here to the transmission area. You can see the transmission and transfer case through here. And it's all nice and dry. There's nothing leaking out of it. Exhaust is in decent shape. Then we get into more panels again for quiet. This is for noise deadening and also for aerodynamics. This came from a rusty area wherever it came from. You can see these bolts are, just crumble them with my fingers. Wow. Pretty rusty for 50-some thousand miles. Probably came from up north. As we move to the back, you can see has the differential is in good shape. It's not leaking. Here's our rear air springs, air suspension. Everything looks good there. The sway bar link is good. Nothing loose. And right here you can see where my fingers are wiggling. There's our third taped off brake wear pad sensor connector. We'll go to the other side. Nothing loose there. Nothing loose there. And our fourth and final, here's my fingers wiggling at you. Our fourth and final brake wear pad sensor connector, also taped off. There's a little module there. Kind of rusty some places, especially on the cross member here. It's kind of crusty, you can see. Luckily this car is in Kansas, or maybe it's going to go somewhere in the southern states. If it were to stay where it came from, it wouldn't be very long and this would be really bad, but it's not bad right now. Nothing else I see to speak of, really. The tires are probably about 75% worn. It'll need new tires before long, but otherwise, that's very strange about the brake wear pad sensors. Very strange indeed.
So Car Wizard, since those sensors are missing, do you have to buy all new brakes again?
No, not all new brakes, just 4 sensors. Plug it in, insert the sensor into the pads, and we'll be back in business. We'll get that taken care of and get the brake warning light off. That's really strange. I haven't seen that before on such a new vehicle. I've seen that in older vehicles, but if you spent so much on the brake pads, why are you skimping on $7 wear sensors? I don't get that. That's really weird to me. Let's go ahead and get this thing lowered on the ground. So we'll get these issues taken care of and get this customer back on the road and happy. You can see why we checked one of these out, and although it's not a bad car, it just wouldn't work for us. And I can also understand why a person would want the Porsche Macans. SUVs are really popular right now, and you can find a Porsche dealership a lot easier than you can find a Maserati dealership. You can go to any town that's 200,000-300,000 people or larger. There's very likely could be a Porsche dealership. Probably not going to be a Maserati dealership. Luckily, we can fix a Maserati here. I can take care of anything it needs. Otherwise, we would have to go back to Kansas City every time it needed work. And I do have customers that purchase cars from Kansas City that are under warranty. They have to go back to Kansas City every time that something's wrong and get it fixed under warranty. I still think it's really strange about the brake wear pad sensors on here. I actually had Magic Mike check this out, and he came and got me, and we both looked at the taped off connectors, and we just were silent. It was like a moment of silence. We're just like, our jaw dropped. We're just, this is a 2018 Macan. Why do you tape off the connectors for the, I don't know. I don't get it, guys. Really crazy. But I'm glad they did tape them, because now moisture and things didn't get in there and ruin the connectors, the little pins inside of there. But we'll get 4 sensors ordered, and that light will go away. It'll be happy again. Mrs. Wizard thinks that they ordered the pads, not thinking about the wear pad sensors, and they got everything apart, and they're like, I don't understand what's going on here. Why are there sensors? And they just taped them off and said, screw it, it's good enough. It's definitely not a car to say screw it on, especially so new in a Porsche. You don't say screw it on a Porsche. So when we saw those weird sensor things, I thought this is going to be a perfect car to show you guys a video on. We can all have the moment of silence together and just... It's a really cool car. It was too small for us. That's why we didn't get one of these. We ended up with the Levante, and we were really happy with the Levante. If you're curious what kind of tools we use in the shop to work on these cars, check my Amazon affiliates link in the description below. The tools we use in the shop are listed for sale there, and we get a small cut. We really appreciate it. And make sure you hit the subscribe button. There's so many cool things going on in the shop right now. Thanks for watching.